All right, here we go.
How to create the big idea for your business. What is the big idea? The man with those answers and more. Here is John Limbacher.
Always look forward to seeing what Gregory's going to come up with every week.
Wow, I didn't know you got a fancy announcer like Gregory Santana. Wow, you're getting big time there, John Limbacher.
Oh, yeah, you got to like that, right? Cool stuff. Well, here we are at May 27th. And I want to thank you guys for indulging me the last couple of weeks going over the big idea. I just feel that that is like the most key important thing that you could possibly work on to start off with your marketing program, because that's the thing that's going to grab the attention. If you don't grab the attention, you don't get a shot at the rest of the whole ball of wax. So that is something that, and it's a skill that if you hone that skill, it will be with you for the rest of your life. You will actually look at things differently. Every time you get an idea in your business, you'll be more prepared with that tool to actually make it successful. So the whole big idea process, I really encourage you guys to go through that lesson again, even if you've already done it. If you haven't done it, for sure you want to hit that one. But there's the worksheet and there's the examples. I think there was like 20 examples in there where I pointed out the 3 key components. And you guys remember, it's when you're creating a big idea, there's 3 things. It's the promise. That's what they want, their desired outcome. That is really important. If you don't get that one right, you kind of fumble and miss the ball. The next thing, this is the next most important thing, is that you have a believability to your big idea, and that comes with the unique mechanism. That's the thing that delivers the result. And, I feel like I say this stuff over and over and over, but I don't think I can say it enough, because the deeper you get that, the more successful you're going to be. So those 2 things are like the most important part of the big idea, is the promise. You make the right promise and you have the right delivery mechanism to make the promise believable that you can deliver on. And the last piece is just saying it in a way that no one's heard it before. It's attaching it to something that is intellectually interesting, and it will again grab them and pull them in. Like, I know most of you have seen my big idea that I revolve around Elvis, the Elvis shift, where I talk about, this is the Elvis shift is the unique mechanism that's going to give you the success in the business that you want. That's the promise. The whole Elvis shift and talking about it in that way, that's the unique, compelling part of it. So that's kind of the 3 key components all working together. Really, really good stuff, though. If you don't have a big idea, your ads are going to suffer. Your advertising is going to be very expensive, because you're going to be spending ad dollars and not converting. You're not going to be getting the leads. You're not going to be getting the clicks, and it's just going to get really, really costly. And we all love the idea of ads, but nobody likes the idea of paying for them, especially when you're paying way too much, right? So that's something you want to be careful of, that before you start running ads, before you start spending money, you have done everything in your power to make sure that you've got something that's going to convert. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting money right out of the gate. It's going to be like, you don't want to start off with a bucket that's got a bunch of holes in it, leaking water, trying to fill it up. You don't want to start that way. Every ad campaign will wind up that way to some point, because you've got leakage. You've got a point where, maybe your audience isn't big enough and you've shown the ad to them too many times and all that kind of stuff. But those are holes that you patch along the way, but you don't want to start out with as many holes as you can put in the bucket. So that is the best advice I could possibly give you guys, is to get the big idea, get that in your head, get Just start thinking about it. The more you think about it, the better you'll get at it. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. I wasn't good at it to begin with. I mean, a lot of people say, that I'm spectacular at this. It's because I've done it so many times. I wasn't that good when I started, believe me. I fumbled around and did the same thing that you guys are going through. So I know the pain. I've been there. But I can also tell you that it's been probably the biggest thing that has helped me help other people, is being able to create those big ideas for people. And it still amazes me, like people that I've worked with, even one-on-one, to get that through to them. And then they'll send me the worksheet and I look at it and I'm like, where's the promise? Where's the unique mechanism? And so I feel like I haven't really, as many times as I've said it, I feel like I still haven't driven it home. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue till you guys are all spectacular at it. But anyway, this call, like you guys know, is open to anything that you need help with. So whatever I'm on, if I'm on a tear on something and you got a question you want, you can either raise your hand. Sometimes I'm not very good at watching the chat, so it's best for me. It's visual for me if you raise your hand on here. If you guys know how to do that. If you don't, figure it out. But anyway, it's under, where is it? It's under God, I don't even know how to do it.
Reactions.
There you go. All right. So
on my iPad, it's under the 3 dots that say more. But hey, John, with the big idea, I know this is probably going to make you choke, but I get confused with all the elements. So the big idea is the promise that we're making.
Well, the big idea is it's a collective of 3 pieces.
Okay.
The promise, and it can lead with one or the other. They don't have to necessarily be in order. Mm-hmm. But like with Crest, for instance, Crest toothpaste, their promise is bright smiles.
Yeah.
And they show that visually. So their ad, you're seeing the bright smiles. This is what you want. They're not really even saying that they're going to give you bright smiles. They're just showing it to you, letting you connect the dots. And then their big idea is 4 out of 5 dentists recommend Crest. So it's a 1-sentence thing, but it's giving you proof. It's telling you Crest is the unique mechanism. And it's also giving you the proof points of, if 4 out of 5 dentists recommend it, what is the other guy, an idiot? Or, it's a way that they hadn't heard it before.
Well, so isn't that psychologically, like when you say like 4 out of 5, it's much more credible to the mind?
Yes.
Because if you said 100%, everybody would be like, oh, you're so full of baloney.
That could be too. Yeah. These things, they're highly engineered. Like when you see these ads put out by ad agencies, they have a team of experts.
I know. I was one of them.
Yeah. It's
so were you.
It's not just one guy.
Right.
And I don't know if you guys know where I learned this stuff. I
ad agencies.
Yeah. I worked for ad agencies. I've never actually had a real job before, but I was a commercial photographer, and I did special effects photography, and the ad agencies would hire me, and I got an education that I didn't know I was getting at the time. And most of it, I've had to go back in my mind and relearn those lessons, because I was sitting in those boardrooms. I mean, on a very regular basis, I would sit there and I would watch these ad teams go through the process of creating the ads. And then they would look down the table to me and say, can you put that on film? And I'm like, that's why you pay me the big bucks. Of course I can. So I spent 10 years in those boardrooms, watching them do that creative process. And I wish that, if I could turn back the clock, I would have been a little more attentive. I would have paid a lot more attention to what they were really doing. I know there was stuff I missed because I wasn't paying attention. I was just kind of waiting for my part, but I did get a lot of it, if nothing else by osmosis. But seeing them do what they did and remembering back, I can clearly see everything that is in the ACT program is exactly what they did. The A is the analysis, all the market research, all of that stuff that they did for a reason. It was to figure out what the person wanted, why they wanted it, what it was going to do for them. And that was how they created their messaging. They created their messaging all based on the market itself, not out of what they thought, not out of their head. It was always based on their analysis, their research of the market itself. So that's another thing that David Ogilvy said. He's the guy that actually came up with the big idea and coined it as a phrase. It's his little baby. But one of the things that he also said was, he said, you research with a wheelbarrow. He says, you'll never have too much research. You, as much as you can, you pile it on and carry it with a wheelbarrow. It doesn't fit in a briefcase. The more, the merrier. And he also said that all of the big ideas that he has come out of the market itself. So they didn't come out of his head. They came out of the market research. So that's where you get these. That's how you formulate these big ideas. And it will carry you through. It will, like I said, it's the first piece of the 4-part process of conversion. And it's that grab attention piece. If you can't grab attention, you can't take the next step in your ad campaign or your funnel, which is creating demand and desire for your product. If you don't do that, you're not really creating any value. So you've got to be able to create value.
John, in the big idea, there's the promise, and then what are the other 2 pieces?
The second one is the unique mechanism. And this is the piece that kind of makes it believable that you can actually deliver on the promise. It's the thing that's going to do the work to get you the result. Like in the Crest ad, they don't say, you've got to scrub your teeth every day. They just say, the Crest is the thing. 4 out of 5 dentists recommend Crest. It's the magic bullet that's going to make your teeth white and shiny.
Mm-hmm. And then what's the third?
The third thing is that's the intellectually interesting or compelling way that you pull it together. A lot of times it's done with metaphors or something unique that they've never heard before. Like if you say the same thing that the market has heard over and over and over, they tend to not hear it anymore. But if you say it in a way that they haven't heard it yet, now all of a sudden their head kind of turns and you've got their attention. And then you can take them to the next step.
I was thinking about this. First of all, it was great to see everybody, whoever was live, Gregory and John and a few other folks. We got to see each other this Wednesday. So I got to hug the big Johnny boy. It was awesome. And Roger, I saw Roger and Michelle. Anyway, I really miss you all.
Yeah, that was really cool. And I didn't know Craig was going to bring me up on stage. He just texted me during lunch and he's like, hey, do you mind if you come up on stage and share some stuff? And I'm like,
it's a good thing you're always prepared.
Yeah, I had no idea he was going to do that. And yeah, he hadn't been up there for quite a while.
Yeah, he did. It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
But I was thinking, for me, and maybe this applies to everybody. I don't know. I mean, I know Joe, his niche is really quantifiable, but for art, I was thinking, John, I've been stumped by this, but it occurred to me when we were, I don't know, whatever crossed my mind when we were all talking the Tuesday. I was like, I guess the unique way I could present selling my artwork and really anything. Sorry, I'm leaning on my art supplies. I'm finishing up a painting. Anyway, I was thinking I kind of could say anything, right? Because it's art. So
Yeah.
I want to like if you guys, I'm focused on developing selling my website and selling my art and the creativity classes. I'm building it all. And it just occurred to me, I was like, I and it's funny because like John says, I've done advertising for so many other people, and for myself, it's like banging my head bloody against the wall. So I'm like totally open to like, if you guys would give me feedback, even in the chat, or like what might make you buy a piece of art, or anything. I'm trying to figure out what would get people to buy a piece of art. And like my art, it goes for, I can really paint or sculpt anything. And I've been doing a live Facebook on Fridays. Tim pops in. I thank you so much, Tim, for coming in and joining me. So I'm slowly but surely taking like what everybody's been telling me to do. And I'm wanting to put together like test. I'll show you.
Well, Allie, here's
I'm working on this.
cool.
And I want to make it, this is a study for me. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's kind of an angel, or whatever, some kind of being of love and light. And so I want to make it ultimately in a big piece of glass, but I can also make it into anything. It's for me, I can make it into a painting or whatever in terms of media. So glass is a little down the road because I haven't found, when you make glass, you buy sheets of Tiffany hand rolled glass. And anyway, all that aside. So I want to kind of do a test ad, John, and get everybody, fellow Journey people. So I'm trying to figure out like what would be my big idea. Like, you know how, John, you say you test everything. So I was thinking, okay, I could test anything, right? I could, like you did your Elvis thing too.
Well, here's what you need to do first, though, because art in itself is like saying everybody in the world. I mean, everybody at some point appreciates art,
Right. Well,
whether it's paintings or sculptures or a rainbow or the human body. I mean, it's all right. And we all have an appreciation of that at some level. But what you need to do is you need to figure out the art that you're doing, who is your market that is going to gravitate toward that? And if that market, if that little sliver of the market, what's important to them? Why are they going to want the art? What's it going to do for them? Is, in some cases, people will buy art. They'll spend a tremendous amount of money for it because no one else has it. Collectors don't want something that's all over. They want a one-off. They want something that is really cool that they can brag about that no one else has. So your big idea, again, it's going to come out of that market. It's not going to come out of your head. It's not going to come out of any of us.
So should I look on groups or like, because this is so, because each piece is different, and I don't know, like where would I like?
Well, some of this is going to be intuitive. There's cases where, you're not going to have these people at your disposal to do a focus group.
Right.
So
definitely
some
not.
of it, like with me, it's a lot of it is intuitive. I know a lot about people because I've walked the earth for 57 years and I've encountered a lot of people. And I am very observant. I like see what, what makes people tick and all of that. So I can make a lot of intuitive hops that I think a lot of people have to struggle with. But sometimes that's exactly what it is. I'm looking at the person that's going to buy it, and I'm thinking in my head, if I were them, why would I want that? So it's almost like being an actor or an actress. You have to put yourself in a different role so you can think differently. And you need to think as though you were them if you're going to play this game by yourself. And I do this, a lot of times by myself. But the reason that I hit it so close is I'm able to actually become that person and make those intuitive hops based on that. I'm thinking if I were them, and I go into their role and I play as though I'm them. So it's like role play. If you're good at role play, you'll be good at that. If role play is, not familiar to you, not comfortable, then that's going to be a lot harder. But you really need to figure out who is this for and why do they want it? And what's it going to do for them? How is it going to benefit them? If you don't do that, it's going to be really difficult to come up with a big idea because you're trying to grab their attention. And you need to know what's going to do that.
Right. Okay, I gotcha.
And the first thing, actually, before you even do that, remember the lesson on market segmentation. That's one of the very first things that I talk about is segmenting your market and then looking at the different segments and figure out which segment is most profitable. That's where you want to start. If you're going to create a product or a service, why not create it for the most profitable segment of all of the markets at your disposal? Every one of us probably has 50 different market segments at our disposal. Doesn't matter what we're doing. We've all got multiple market segments that we could sell to. But if you start really looking at them, you might start asking yourself, why do I want to focus on that? And so many times that's where we focus. And then business becomes hard and we get burnt out because we don't like what we're doing. We're dealing with people we don't like. We're dealing with people that are cheap. We're dealing with the least profitable segment that we could possibly deal with. And why would we want to stay there? So segmentation, if you look, that's one of the things I think that the colleges get right. When they teach marketing, they teach segmentation. That's one of the only places I've seen where they really get it right. But then they kind of drop you off in the forest and leave you there to figure the rest out. But market segmentation is where it all begins.
Yeah, that's a great point for me. That's really good because I could just, so I was thinking about focusing on, when you go into Facebook and you go into the, when you buying an ad and they really have very detailed, like you can make an audience that reads, let's just say Architectural Digest, and they go to the Metropolitan Museum and, and they love glass or whatever. So like, that's going to be, so I'm just kind of going along with would that be a good place to start?
Yeah. Like, let's say, for instance, you had a market segmentation that you knew loved glass. They go to the museums, they're looking at glass, they're going to exhibitions. So these people like glass. Now you want to know, is this high-end glass they're looking at? Or is this,
my work, definitely.
Is this trinkets to decorate their kitchen?
Oh no.
Because that's a whole, that's a whole different segment of art, right? People will go to Home Depot or Walmart and they'll buy art. Those are not the people you want.
No, the people I want are going to be looking at Christie's and Sotheby's and
So why do they want that? It's a luxury. It's a pure luxury.
Yeah.
They certainly don't.
It's like buying a yacht, Johnny.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly why I want what I want. I mean, it is pure luxury. It's like, you know, I want to walk down that dock and know that I'm the biggest, baddest thing on the floating on that channel. It's a, you know, it's a status symbol. It's freedom. It's, you know, that's for me, that's what it's all about. But you've got to figure out why those people are buying that art, and then you appeal to that.
I think that's kind of would be similar. I think that, I don't know. So I'm going to guess. Thank you for this. I don't want to take up, thank you. I appreciate you so much. And everybody else, thanks.
Yeah,
and if you guys have any suggestions for me, just love to hear it. I'm totally open.
Here's another reason why people will buy things like that. If they're a little bit shy and they don't like, they need a conversation opener. Like, you'll see very wealthy people that are not good around people. They will buy things as conversation openers, as icebreakers. People will notice it, they'll mention it, and now they have common ground to actually have an intelligent conversation about something. But they have trouble opening the conversation without those things. So they'll spend a tremendous amount of money because they want to talk to people. They just don't know how, but they can buy their way in. And they've discovered that. Like, there's people, there's some famous story, I forget what it was, but it's about a chandelier. The guy spent $1 million on a chandelier, and he only did it, well, he did it for a few reasons. He was new in the neighborhood, and he moved into a neighborhood where all the people in there, they want to buy things that no one else can have. So he did that, and then he had a housewarming party, and he invited all the neighbors to see his $1 million chandelier. And it's like, you know, there's FU money, and then there's FE money. You know what the difference is?
No.
And, you know, pardon the language, but there's fuck you money, but then there's fuck everybody money.
Hey, Tom, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Why wouldn't she just ask people, like, why did they buy the art?
Well, she can. You absolutely can.
You told me. I started asking my clients, like, why did you hire me? And then,
Yeah. Like, I learned a lot out of this group early on by doing surveys. You know, I would put surveys out to find out what people wanted to learn about, what they wanted to know about, what their biggest issues were. I even put a survey out to find out what time I should do this call. Like, I'm like, what day of the week is best? And, you know, the vast majority chose Thursday. And then I'm like, okay, what time slot? 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. And the majority of them chose 11 a.m. Pacific. That's why this call is at this time. I don't care when it is. I'll do it in the middle of the night. It doesn't matter to me. But I want to do what is wanted. You know, again, it's not about me. It's never about you. It's always about the person you're working with. What do they want? What's important to them, and why? And sometimes the why will give you a lot of insight into how you communicate with them, how you market to them, how, you know, what makes them buy, what makes them not buy. And the more you know, the more effective you'll be, and the higher your close ratios will be, the higher your conversion ratios be. When you get really solid conversion ratios, that's when you can afford to buy advertising. You know, it's really expensive if you don't have that figured out and you start buying ads. But if you get that figured out, and then you know your sales system works, you know how to talk to them, that's when you get them and you drive them to your funnel. You know your big ideal, grab their attention. You know your lead magnet will get them into the funnel. You know your presentation or what you're going to deliver throughout the process is going to create demand and desire, eliminate objections, and ultimately make an offer. That's when you can afford to spend money on ads. That's when you're crazy not to spend money on ads. That's what we call predictable client acquisition.
Mm.
When you have predictable client acquisition, that's like having a money printing machine. You know, if you put $100 in and you get 150 back, how often would you like to do that? Once a month, or maybe every couple of minutes? You know, it's like, how much do you want? It drove me crazy. I worked with the kid next door. His parents wanted me to mentor him, and I'm like, sure, no problem. So I sat him down and we started having a conversation about, you know, what are you interested in? I didn't want to guide him towards something he wasn't into. So it came down to he was into porn. And I'm like, okay, I'm good with that. Whatever you want to do. So we did the research. We set him up. We created a website. He didn't want to create products, so we just got a bunch of affiliate offers. We put a website together with a bunch of adult affiliate offers, and I showed him how to do it. We put it all together, and then I showed him how to set up pay-per-click ads in Google. And he had a killer conversion ratio. I mean, he was putting out, like, for every $1 he put out, he was getting 5 back.
Wow, that's great.
And this is not common. This is very much not common. But in that market, at the time we were doing it and the way we were doing it, he was getting a 5-to-1 return.
Mm.
And I thought, I've just set this kid up for life. You know, if you could put $1 in and get 5 back, you're going to want to scale that pretty freaking quick. So I didn't hear from the kid for a while, and I'm thinking he's on autopilot. He's got to be killing it by now. And then I see him out in the backyard, and I call him over to the wall, and we start talking across the wall. I'm like, so how's it going? He goes, I stopped running the ad. And I'm like, why? I'm like, if it stopped working, why didn't you come over and talk to me? You know, we'll look at it and figure out what the problem is. And he's like, no, he goes, it worked. He goes, I just got sick of paying the credit card bill. And I'm like, wait a minute, how much was the credit card bill? He's like, yeah, it was like $1,000 a month. And I'm like, and how much were you making? He goes, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000. And I'm like, I'm not even going to talk to you. You're lucky I don't have a gun. It's like, that blew my mind. I mean, and you know, he's a librarian now, and that's probably a good place for him.
You need an accountant, John.
Oh my God.
You need a good accountant.
It literally blew my mind. I don't even know how to explain that. He is definitely not cut from my cloth. I can tell you that. But anyway, that's when you have something where you have a high conversion ratio, you can literally scale it. It's like having a money printing machine. That's what you all want to strive for. And the only way you're going to get there is with a high conversion ratio. The higher the conversion, the more money you'll make, and the less expensive the traffic is going to be. You know, traffic is money, no matter how you slice it. Doesn't matter wherever you're getting your traffic. It doesn't matter if you're traveling and you're speaking on stages, or you're buying Google pay-per-click ads, or you're buying YouTube video ads. It doesn't matter where your traffic's coming from. It's going to cost you money. You know, even if you think it's free, it's going to cost you money. My absolute favorite traffic source is JV partners, or not necessarily JV partners, but promoters that will promote my affiliate offers. I usually don't reciprocate. I usually don't go back. The only way I'll promote somebody or something is if I'm using it myself, it's effective, and I can do a presentation and show somebody how I'm using it and what it's doing for me. Those kind of things I'll promote all day long out to my group. But anything outside of that, I typically don't promote anything unless I'm using it and it's working for me, and I can show you how it does, you know, how it's doing for me, and how I can show you how to do it for you. That's the only kind of offers that I really promote. But the guys that will promote for me, I look for people that have my ideal audience that really don't compete with me. And it gives them a big opportunity to promote my products out to their group and make additional income, which is very appealing to them. And I always create my offers in their favor. I give them a lot of commission up front. I load the offer up front, so it's a higher ticket offer on the front end. So they get their bigger money, they get it faster. And they like that. So I have learned, over the years, that's what they like. So that's how I create my offers for them. So I see a couple of hands up here. Roger, you've had your hand up for a while there.
Yes, sir. I've got two questions, actually. One is, I know we talked real estate a little bit regarding, was it Woody or something, a couple weeks ago or something, but
Yeah.
I'm in the San Antonio market, and I'm doing basically real estate investing. So we're looking for distressed properties and or distressed sellers.
Okay.
Well, last half of last year, we killed it, got a number of properties, good money. About the first of the year, the market died. Now, when I say the market died, it's an actual inverse reaction to an extremely hot real estate market where, you've got a dump with 600,000 code violations need to be bulldozed. Not a problem. You'll find a wholesaler give you 80,000 for it, and somebody will pay him 100. And there's our print advertising. When I say print, I should say mail advertising, postcards and things, just has stopped working entirely. So I'm just curious what your opinion is, and I know you sent out something versus email this morning. I'm curious whether or not SEO is something worth pursuing in a market like that, in a market like this, or if you have something where we've got I've got another friend who's very successful in Toronto in real estate, and he's having some of the same issues. But we've been doing this so long. We're not young people who will work for 6 or 7 months only to find out there was no return on something. Gee, that didn't work.
Sure, absolutely.
So I'm curious. So that's my first question. If you want to maybe address that, or if you can address or have any thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you've experienced, you've experienced a market shift that was, basically driven by outside forces. And a lot of people experienced that over the last, 14 months or so with the pandemic. The pandemic has shifted a lot of markets, and, if not all of them. And some it shifted toward the better, and some it shifted toward the worse. But what you've got to do as a business owner, as a marketer, as an advertiser, you've got to be really in tune with your conversion ratios. If your conversion ratios were good today and they're not good tomorrow, you are experiencing a market shift. Something happened, and you need to look at it really hard. Whatever they wanted yesterday is not what they want today, and you need to change everything. You need to change, in some cases, your messaging. In some cases, you need to change your entire market. Sometimes a market will flat vanish. It'll just disappear right under your feet. When it's gone, it's gone. It's like when I was in the photo business, I was specialized in commercial photography, special effects. It was a very high-end thing. I was making, an astronomical amount of money per day in that industry. And then this little thing called Photoshop appeared on the scenes. And I was like, oh shit, this gravy train is about to disappear. I saw it ahead of the curve. I recognized it, and I started making my shift before I got the rug pulled out from under me. But nonetheless, what I used to do, it does not exist anymore. So if I had stayed in that market, I would have died a horrible death. But I transitioned. I looked at, okay, of the people I'm working with, what are they going to want next? And my answer, I asked that of myself. The answer I came up with was the internet. Nobody had even heard of it at that point. That was when I started making my shift toward where I believed the puck was going. And luckily, I was right. That was probably one of the best business moves and decisions of my entire life, was to move into the internet when I did. It was, it was like, it was so life changing for me, because prior to that, I made good money. I mean, I always had the freedom I wanted and got whatever I wanted out of life, but it was based on time for dollars. I just realized I needed a shitload of dollars for my time to maintain that freedom. And that's what I had with the special effects. I went into an industry where very few people knew how to do it. And the ones that did were paid handsomely. So I was right at home in that environment. I didn't mind working time for dollars, as long as I was getting in the 80s, I was getting like $3,500 a day. That was some pretty good money in the 80s.
It's not too
So,
shabby today.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd take it today too. But what I got out of the shift was, when I moved onto the internet, it was my first experience with residual income. I started doing website development. I started doing hosting, and I was actually in a market that didn't really even exist yet, because in the ad agencies and all of those bigger companies, there was no budget for web development. So you couldn't go in there and charge a bunch of money to develop websites. So what I did was I went into all the companies that I had worked with and I said, you guys are going to need a website. I'll do it for you for free. I will, because of our business relationship and our history, I'm going to give it to you. But you need it hosted somewhere, and I require that you host it on my servers. So that budget was minimal. I was charging them a couple $100 a month to host their websites. Nobody knew what it cost to host back then. It was costing me pennies. It was like virtual real estate. I was buying the land almost free and making a fortune on it. So that could come, a couple $100 a month can come out of petty cash. Every business had petty cash to do whatever they wanted. So here, all of a sudden, I'm building 2 or 3 sites a week, adding up $100, $200 a month every time I did it. It didn't take very long, and I had more money coming in than I was used to, and I didn't have to really work for it. So it was like I think it was after the second year, I told Barb, I'm like, doesn't matter if I work or not now, we're going to make the same amount of money and everything's covered, to the umpteenth degree. I'm like, you ever been on a cruise? We started going on cruises. I think we spent like 5 or 6 weeks on cruise ships that year. And I made the same amount of money on a cruise ship as I did sitting in front of my computer at that point. And I'm like, that was a big shift for me. That was like, oh, this is a whole new world I live in now. That allowed me to get really creative and have fun, have fun coming up with, how do we make more? How do we make more residual income streams? And I got into affiliate marketing. I mean, we've got income coming in from every which way but loose, from different affiliate offers that I promote and products that I've made and all kinds of stuff. So it was a good change. But Roger, that's what you need to look for, is where'd the market shift? What are they going to want next? And you've got to change everything. You've got to change your marketing. You've got to change what you're doing, and possibly even where you're advertising. This is one of the most important things that you want to focus on, is when the market shifts, it might be different buyers now, and they might be hanging out in different locations. And to answer your question, whether SEO makes sense to that or not, it only makes sense if they know what to search for and they're searching for it actively. And that's for anybody. If people are actively searching for what you're offering, and there's enough money in the sale or in the lifetime value of the client acquisition, that's where SEO makes sense. That's where, that's the first thing I look at is, okay, what is the cost to acquire the customer? and what's the lifetime value of that client acquisition. And with any traffic channel, those are your questions you're asking. If the lifetime value of the client acquisition is massive and your cost to acquire them is substantial, that can work out. Even like here's how the Agora company, Agora Publishing, they are a multi-billion-dollar publisher online now. They are the biggest publisher in the world of online products. It's in the billions of dollars a year. And here's how they did it. They knew their numbers. They knew how much it took to acquire a customer. They knew how much each customer was worth and how long they were going to get income out of them. And they went to the maximum. They were willing to spend more to acquire that customer than any of their competitors because they knew their numbers and they believed in them. And what they did, they would spend up to 3 times the profit to acquire a customer. So they would literally go in the hole 3 times what they were going to make, knowing that their lifetime value was going to make it back in 3 to 6 months. And then they were going to triple their money. So basically, in essence, that's like saying, would you invest $1 today to make $3 6 months from now? That's the math. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. As an investor, I would put $1 in today to make 6 months from now. That is a pretty good return on investment. Well, that's what Agora recognized. They recognized if they could spend literally 3 times to acquire a customer. And that's how they're a $1 billion a year company, multi-billion-dollar a year in the publishing business. That's how they did it. And if they didn't know their numbers, they never would have taken that leap. They never would have taken that risk. So if you're going to try and scale a business, those are some of the numbers that you need to know. You need to know, how much is my initial sale? What is the cost to make that sale? And what's the lifetime value over what amount of time for that customer acquisition? And if you know those numbers and you're confident with your numbers of your lifetime value, then you can confidently go in the hole on your first time client acquisition, knowing that you're going to make it up. But if you don't know the numbers, that'll scare the hell out of you. You're like, how can I pay $3 for a $1 sale? You know, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, in our business, it was kind of scary numbers. It was cost us $5,000 to acquire a client, but of course we would make 30, 40, 50,000.
Sure.
However, once the lead pipe starts drying up, now you're paying, now all of a sudden you spend 30,000 and no leads,
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And that's where we're at. I guess it's going back to, what are people looking for? Where are they at? What exactly has changed that we can, I mean, some of the things that have changed that we have no control over, obviously. Other things maybe we do. I guess that's what we need to look at. And I guess my second question kind of parlays off of that, because I have other friends with, again, very talented. Some of us have been in the crypto space for a while. And my question is, we have a big idea in the crypto space, but I'm curious what your opinion is as far as marketing that idea. Now, I know there's things like solo ads, whatever else, where, the big tech have no control over you, but in general, the big tech hate crypto ads or your crypto offers, however legitimate they might be. And I'm just curious if you had any thoughts on that.
Well, the reason that they hate crypto offers, it's not the crypto that they hate.
Understand.
They hate the claims of income.
Sure.
That's the thing they don't like. So there's a lot of guys doing this very successfully. I mean, I see the YouTube ads, I see the Facebook ads and all that, but they're not making income claims. They're doing very mysterious. They're using big ideas that are are directed in a different direction. You know, they're mystery ads. They're like, find out what the next big thing is. You know, but they're not saying, you know, invest in crypto and triple your money. You won't get that to fly.
Understand.
So in fact, one of the big ideas in the one that I give out, the worksheet that's got all the examples, there's one where it talks about a new railroad going across America that's going to change people's lives. And back then they could get away more with the income claims. So, but look at that just for the idea of the way they said it. It's like, oh, what the hell does that mean? You know, we all know railroads are kind of a thing of the past. Nobody's going to get wealthy off a railroad, but it was a metaphor. It was a metaphor for a new rail system being paved across America, which was the new financial system. You know, people were going to get wealthy on that. So that's something you might be able to piggyback off of. Big idea, the compelling, the interesting part, the thing that makes it unique is saying the same thing in a different way that they've never heard it before.
Understand.
So, and that's where, you know, this stuff can be incredibly difficult, especially for yourself. I know, just like what Ali said a while ago, she's good and I'm good at doing this for other people, but you ask us to do it for ourselves and we choke up. It's like, you know, a lot of times we're too close, or we're too, you know, in the middle of our own head to get out of it. And, you know, that's where I learned a long time ago that I can't be me when I play this game. When I'm playing this game, I have to become someone else. It's like being an actor or an actress. You've got to role play. You've got to get into their head. You've got to get into their emotional state. You've got to feel it, you know. That's how you can make those intuitive hops and find out what's important to them and why. You know, why is that important? And, you know, the more you know about your audience, the more effective that you'll become at that.
Well, that's one of the things we've struggled with over the years, is actually just trying to make sure all of our offers are actually of value, which is, you know, we've sat in front of some of the biggest names in the business over the years, you know, back when you could do such a thing. And one of the things that they would talk about value, but what all came down to is it was usually a matter of sell it, and then if necessary, create it. And value, well, we'll see, you know. But whereas these partners I've got and we all, you know, we've been scammed. We don't want to be scamming anybody else. So we always try to put so much, you know, true value into it that maybe sometimes we lack the creativity to, I guess, like you say, use the metaphors.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you can learn a lot about what your customers want just by listening to them. Like this call that we're on was supposed to end in 2010. The first product I ever made, it was an 8-week course, and it had one module per week. Like on a Monday, I would release the first module, and then on Friday, I had a call to answer all the questions about it, and, you know, the Q&A, whatever they wanted to know about that first module. And then the next Monday, new module. Next Friday, a talk about that module, answering any questions. That was supposed to be 8 weeks, but at the end of the 8th week, the people were freaking out on the call. And I'm like, hey guys, slow down. I'll stay on here as long as you want. I'll answer all of your questions. I'm not going to leave you hanging. And I found out, like, they were freaked out because I was going to be gone the next week. That was it. They weren't going to have access to me anymore. And I just asked them, I said, well, would you want me to continue this call? And they all were like, yes, you know, that's what we want. We want to be able to talk to you every week. And I'm like, well, you know, what would be a fair price for that? I asked them. And, you know, they said anywhere from $10 to $100. And I said, well, you know, would anybody be opposed to $29.97? And that's where it came from. You know, when I went above the 29.97, a lot of the hands started going down. But I found that at the 29.97, most of the hands were still in the air. And I'm like, all righty then, it's 29.97. It's what they wanted. And I got that by asking them. You know, and that's a product that's been going on. This call's been going on since 2010 because I asked them and they said they wanted it. And they even told me how much they wanted to pay for it. And if you look at my stats for, you know, how many 29.97s have come in over the last, you know, 10 years or so, it's in the millions of dollars. You know, it's nothing to sneeze at. I was actually shocked when I saw that. I'm not a guy that looks at analytics. I don't spend my time looking at analytics. I love math. I love to forecast. I love to do all that stuff in my head, but I'm not a bean counter. I'm not like looking at all my analytics and all that stuff. That's Joe's deal. You know, Joe's a bean counter and he loves counting the beans and he's good at it. For me, that's like you know, that's like I told Jennifer earlier. It's like a root canal. It's just don't put me through that. But as I was changing, as I moved to Kartra, this is when I figured it out. I was shifting from a member software, which is what I used for my membership software. That's the software that collected those $29 a month for all those years. When I was moving it over, I was going in and I was looking at how many people I had to, you know, transition over. And I found where the stats were. I'd never even looked at it before. And when I saw the numbers, I was like, I had to take a double take. There was an extra 0 on there. I'm like, this is in millions, not hundreds of thousands. I was like, holy shit. It's like, I might want to promote this more. And then, you know, back to those of you that know me very well and know how lazy I am, I still haven't. I still, you know, depend on everyone else to tell everybody, you know, to come in and get in on this. So anyway, cool.
I appreciate the response and the feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Gwen, you had your hand up there a while ago and now it's down. Did we answer your question or?
No, not really. You had commented close to it, so I was just gonna throw it out there.
Okay.
You're talking about affiliate offers. And the last one you sent out yesterday, when I clicked on it, it just went to the place to buy, no information on it. Is that what you wanted to do?
It wasn't like, it's kind of one of those things I threw out there as a need to know. There's certain people that know about that program already. It was more geared at them.
Okay.
If you don't know about it, I mean, you can go onto their website and you can read about it. They've got 4 different things that they do, and it's a bundle. And if you're an SEO guy, you would want that program. It's very expensive, except for the deal that I got, which I think is ending tomorrow. It's a really good deal. I don't know that for you, I don't know that it would benefit you, you know, unless you really want to get down and turn the nuts and bolts in SEO, which I don't.
Yeah, that was my question. Is it the same as kind of what we're doing through your resellers program?
Yeah, I mean, that's all the stuff that my SEO guys are already doing for you.
Okay.
So it probably wouldn't make sense for you for that. So I don't like this. I don't like to sell anybody on anything they don't actually need. So.
Well, that was my question. Is I'm looking at it going, this, from what I could see of it, it sounded like stuff we're already paying for through the resellers. So I was like, I think I'm good, but I'm going to ask.
Yeah, you're all set.
Okay, that's just another person taking your stuff seriously.
All right, there. How about the new Roger?
Hey, John.
She just broke out on me.
Just want to let you know I'm loving the call. Happy as is. Michelle and I are actively domain name grabbing, and I just wanted to know, is this a forum where I could give you like 3 or 4 ideas and just get your reaction as to what might be better or
Yeah, absolutely. This there's nothing really off limits in here. So there's no censorship. This is open for anything. I mean, we've talked about adult stuff, we've talked about children's stuff. It's open for anything under the marketing umbrella.
Perfect. Well, this isn't shocking. So question is, do I just articulate them, or do I put up I have a little list, of like 5. Do you want me to screen share and you can just read them and get a reaction? Your choice.
Either way, whatever you're most comfortable with, it's fine. You can screen share if you want.
Let's see if I can grab it. I hope can you see it? I hope
yeah. Okay.
The jump didn't throw everybody.
So you had said, if I remember correctly from the other day, you said hot wife is kind of a buzzword in your industry, right?
Yes. So my wife and I teach how to get into non-monogamy in a way that maintains or enhances the romance between you and your spouse. That's the purpose.
Okay.
So we niche a little bit in hot wifing, which is female only non-monogamy.
Okay.
And that term, it's a growing segment, and the term is called hot wife. Now we have a spin on that. So especially the romance side. So we had created, if you can see my little video, the play wife plan, where the play wife represents steps, right? And that kind of ties into our online moniker that people know us by, or know her by.
So what I like here is I like the hot wife life.
Okay, so we loved the most Hot Wife Your Life. And we then saw that Craig shifted his branding. So we contacted him and he said, no, it's too close. And I respect that, totally respect that. So Hot Wife Your Life, though, is available. Hot Wife Life is not. We can't get it.
Okay.
And we can jury rig it, .net or something, but we don't.
Yeah, no, you don't want to do that. What about, I think I threw out Hot Wife Playhouse.
Yes, but unfortunately, a big portion of the initial audience we're going to go to will think that they're going to come in and meet my wife, right? And it's pay to meet. And she doesn't do that ever. Okay. And we don't want to convey even that potentiality, because we've found we've been bounced out of venues that didn't understand. No, wait, there's no pay to play here,
Yeah.
What Looking about that, Roger? Have you thought about hotwifelifeplan.com? Is that available?
Probably.
Hot Wife Life Plan. I mean, I just seen that. See if it's that's available on the .com. It kind of combines what you said. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, the other thing you could do, because if you really like the Hot Wife Life, you might be able to put a prefix on it, like My Hot Wife Life, or The Hot Wife Life.
How about Your, John?
Yeah.
That's great.
Or A Hot Wife Life. I would try and throw some kind of a prefix onto it and see if you can possibly get a domain that way.
John, I am.
And what about, Roger, what about Hot Wife Tips, since it kind of leans into your coaching programs? And then people get that you're going to be explaining stuff, right?
Yes. We want to indicate, though, that it's more mastermind immersive than is just tips. Tips are email capture generation.
Yeah, I think the one that I would really shoot for is The Hot Wife Life.
I like that. I love that.
Yeah.
And
more than How to Hot Wife.
I think
I think
Hot
more
Wife
than,
101.
yeah.
I don't know. How to Hot Wife is great.
Yeah, but I think that's more of a video series or a lead magnet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think as far as a corporate brand, the Hot Wife Life is that's more of a
that sounds like everything combined, coaching as well as lead, everything.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. I would buy that right now, Roger.
I'm gonna-
John, if Roger, like all these, should he buy these .coms anyway in lieu of developing programs?
I don't think so.
No.
Or just do it like a page on his website? Like, you know how you say you could drive people to a specific page?
The only domains that you really want to buy is if it's a domain that's specifically a product name of yours or your company names. I wouldn't buy like a whole bunch of variations. And, you know, that was a thing that was, you know, 20 years ago, that was a big thing. But now it's just an expense, you know. It's not, if you're trying to block, like what I bought for Internet Dominators, I bought the Dominators can be spelled many ways, like TORS, TERS for Dominator, Dominator, and then with and without the S. So I did buy all of them. So if somebody misspelled it, they'd still get to the right spot. But I didn't buy like, you know, all kinds of dominate things. It was
Right.
Internet Dominators, any way they could misconstrue that.
Yeah.
But,
Hey, Roger, I really like, I think it's a bullseye, the Hot Wife Life, like Tim
It's
and John
not
said.
available.
Oh, shoot.
Because then
Your Hot Wife Life is available.
Then
Your
get
is
that.
like grab your.
Okay, then yeah. Yeah, I'd take that as a second choice for sure. If you
Well-
had the Hot Wife Life, then you could have used the Annie song, the Hot Wife Life.
Oh, Michelle is not gonna go for anything that brings up young people imagery. We're more MILF oriented.
Yeah.
I just had to throw that out. I just
Oh, John, I think that's great thinking there. That's marketing thinking.
I'm outside the box. Oh yeah, that's cool. But,
That worked.
Your Hot Wife Life is still great. It's great. It makes it like, you know, it brings it home. So definitely buy that now, Roger.
Does that feel like a brand, John, in your view? Your Hot Wife Life. I mean,
Yeah.
it does. It doesn't feel as strong as the Hot Wife Life, but it does. That'll certainly work. And then as a lead magnet, you can say how to get your Hot Wife Life. Then you can have a lead magnet like that. Or how to get started, or, you know, anything like that. You know, the best lead magnet, and I know some of you have heard me say this before, is when you figure out your prospect, where they are and where they want to be, the best lead magnet that you can give them is the thing that will allow them to take the first step towards getting what they want. And they can take that step, they can do it immediately, and they can get the confidence to know that, hey, I can get there because I was able to take this first step. And it also bonds them to you because you were the one that led the way. You're the one that put the light on the path and allowed them to take that first step. So who do you think they're going to want to turn to for the next step? Right? They're not going to go out and start shopping for mentors. You're the one that gave them that first step. So you just have to make sure you eloquently get in there and give them the second step at the time they're going to want it. Don't let it go cold. So.
Hey, just back to Roger for a minute. I know, Roger, you said that, I was thinking about, well, your brand, what about the Hot Play Wife Life? Is that too long? Does that get too wordy?
yes.
Yeah. I was trying to get the in there.
And the other thing too, is there any other buzzwords?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that
Vixen
might be
is another one, a big one.
What
But
is
that's
it?
more
What is?
niche. So there's more niche terms, and then there's higher, broader terms, like swinger and lifestyle are both broader, and then QoS and Vixen are sub,
okay.
you know,
Because
subdomains.
where I started off as SEO Dominators. that's where, I was kind of stuck in a rut, and I'm like, God, I don't want to be stuck in just SEO. And then we came up with the idea of, what if we go up a rung and go just internet dominators? And I made that choice early on enough that it wasn't taken. So I get to be now the internet dominator.
It's one of the reasons why, John, I went with the simple, easy marketing as opposed to blog and video marketing, because I wanted to add stuff. But I mean, I love the brilliance how you went with that on internet. Oh my gosh, that is just brilliant to come up out of that.
Yeah.
Because I see now getting stuck in a rut.
Yeah, because now I can dominate anything under the internet rung. I can be an SEO dominator. I can be a blog dominator. I'm going to leave that to Tim, but it leaves.
Well, that's it. I didn't want to get captured in blog, because so many people now look at and they know me from seeing me on live streaming, not seeing me on a blog. But it's like I was live streaming about blogging, and they're starting to get this. Well, blogging is old fashioned.
Sure.
And really, but that's the millennial thought process. So I need to capture them in the place they are to take them where they need to be.
Exactly. That's the whole key, is identifying where they are and who they are, what they want, why they want it.
Yeah.
That will just put the light. It'll put the spotlight on the path you need to travel if you want to get their attention. So,
hey, John, one last question, and then
sure.
I want to yield. Do you believe the .coms are still as important as opposed to getting like
yes,
hotwifelife.us or hotwifelife?
I wouldn't bother with any of them myself. They're the American people have been so ingrained .com that if you do any kind of advertising that is not clickable links, like let's say you speak on stage and you say, go to hotwifelife.tv, they're going to go to .com. No matter how hard you emphasize the .tv, they're going to get home, they're going to sit down in front of their computer, and they're going to the .com. I can just guarantee it, a high percentage of them. So whatever it is, .com. All right, let's see. Russ, is Russ still on? Oh, Russ bugged out. He had his hand up. So anybody else? Anything else for
I'm now, John, this week I'm like learning, the last couple of weeks, learning to put the sequences together in my Kartra. And one of them, I had one this morning, the guy who was, that red dot that these blocked or whatever from Canada.
Okay.
Are you finding the Canadian people who opt into your lists harder and harder for them to, are they always the ones that get the triggers?
No, not necessarily. If they're a complainer, if they've complained, because Kartra has a very broad range of users throughout everybody's Kartra accounts.
Yeah.
So they know who's problematic from, being on other lists and what have you.
I figured that's what it was. This one person he really wants to be on my podcast, and like I have it all automated to get from signing up to getting on the podcast. I don't touch it now because I've learned how to use these tools. And this guy is like, he was writing back and forth to my assistant going, well, can't you just manually send me this since the automation doesn't work? And like, I wrote him back and said, listen, I don't even know what these links are anymore.
All you have to do is just contact Kartra and say, I need this person whitelisted. This is my customer.
Okay.
And they will whitelist them. It takes.
I finally got a way around it. I'm waiting to hear if he actually got the emails, because I just went in with a different email address.
Okay.
And I signed him up with a different email address, but it shows now in that portfolio that he's from United States because I signed him up, not.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So.
I don't think it has anything at all to do with where they sign up from.
I was wondering about that with Canada, because I've had 3 of them from Canada that were that way. But you know what I mean? Some of them are like people that you and I both know. One of them that that's red flagged and can't get through. Do you know Lori Hart?
Oh no.
She's in Craig's master. Well, she was in Craig. I don't know if she's still in Craig's mastermind.
Okay.
And yeah, just no matter what we do, I can't get her past it.
Huh. Well, have you contacted Kartra with it?
I'm not. All right. Which, I mean, then again, she's not responded to my last email I sent outside of Kartra. So it's like,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
But,
because
I mean,
sometimes, like, even if Kartra whitelists them, if they continue to bounce,
yeah,
then
they just,
then they'll get hit again.
yeah.
But I know
mean,
everybody I've asked Kartra to whitelist, they've not had a problem with that.
oh,
It's
okay.
about 2 days to do it.
All right. The other thing is I'm trying to get, I want to within the next 6 months, get rid of one shopping cart and get everything over. Do you agree with the fact of adding names of the people who engage, or, you know what I mean? Or, just letting the list go that does not engage with
would-
you at any point.
What I would do, and I told Craig this just the other day,
Mm-hmm.
I would create 10 emails with 10 completely different subject lines, including personalization.
Mm-hmm.
And I would hit your old list 10 times, and whoever doesn't respond and come over at that point, just let them go. They're not ever going to.
Okay, so 10, are you saying give them a new lead to opt in, or just give them something that they just need to move over to the new system?
Try every possible angle you can.
Okay, and that's what the
Yeah.
10 times, what do you mean by the 10 times?
Yeah, like have one be as simple as, and don't lead with this one. Have this one be like down the line a little bit, but have one that says, hey, I would really like to continue communicating with you. If you're okay with that, just reply back to me. And then you manually add them.
Okay.
But have another one that's personalized in the subject, like say in the subject where it says, Tim, did you see this yet?
Mm-hmm.
Or Tim, did you get this? And that way, they'll open it. If the subject line is personalized, they're going to open it.
Okay.
And
but the people who are like clients, and have, like, the people in my case, they have tickets to future events of mine. So I want to move that. Would you move them over manually, or?
I would create an opt-in and I would enter them yourself.
Okay.
Do it that way, but don't import a list.
I imported a list when I started with one shopping cart and lost 99% of it. So I was like, I never will do that again, because that was a big lesson in 2013. And I won't do it again.
Don't upload and import lists into Kartra. It will not end well.
Okay.
So yeah, but just create an opt-in form, put it on a Kartra page, and then just enter those yourself. The ones that respond or people that are already paying customers, you won't have any issue with that.
Okay.
Hey, John, is there any way, I always hear you telling folks that join up with Kartra to not import their list because Kartra will ban them.
Correct.
But is there any way, since you have Kartra's ear, I always feel like they should really, really tell people, like, big bold letters, do not import lists. And why? Why do they do that? And why is it irreversible? It's just so hardcore, and you could easily make, like Craig made that mistake.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. It's not that you can't import a list, because they will allow it, but they have triggers. They have built-in triggers that if you send email out and you hit their triggers, that will ban your account. So if your list isn't clean, if you import a bad list, which nobody has a perfect list. So let's say you import 1,000 people and 50 of them bounce. Kartra is going to ban that list because they do not want 50 emails bouncing off of a single blast. They will not allow that. So if you know your list, like let's say there's only 20 people on your list and it's your customers and their emails are good, that's a list I would import. But I would not import just some bulk generic list of, you think you have a good list. That's
Right.
You're going to pay the price. And once they ban it, there's no turning back. They don't ban your Kartra account, just your ability to use their mailing platform. So then you have to buy a separate mailing platform like Mailgun or, something like that to get your mail out. You still can use the Kartra automation, It's just you have to use that third-party provider to actually deliver the mail, and you know it's just an unnecessary pain in the ass you don't need to go through.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I did though in a sequence. I just, because I'm learning sequences, John. I did just last night. I had one client that was up for renewal. No response, no matter what I did, even personal emails. So I created a whole sequence as in saying goodbye.
yeah,
And guess what? They renewed.
awesome. Now, when you create your sequences, remember you can stuff automations in there to kill the sequence. So okay.
Yeah, I did. I got automations in to kill the sequence, and I got automations that if they didn't renew, basically it takes them out of everything. That I don't have to go in and manually pull them out anymore. I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So good stuff. Cool. All right. Anything else before we wrap up today? All right.
Hey guys, everybody have a good Memorial Day weekend, and remember why we support Memorial Day.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you all for being on here. Great questions. And the only bad question's the one that doesn't get asked. So
I'll remember that question in about an hour from now, John. The one I didn't ask.
There you go. Well, it'll be a bad question at that point.
Or one for next
week. One for next.
It'll be next week's question, then. It'll be a good question next week.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, have a great week.
Thank you, John.
Happy Memorial Day, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Be well, everyone.
Memorial Day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.